Hi there. Welcome back to Ask Amy. I have a question today from Angela. Angela says, I've been following you for a while. I've done the Little School of Big Change, and it's been an amazing journey with so many changes in my life. But there's one thing I don't seem to be able to shift in my thinking. I feel constantly triggered by my youngest child. She's constantly defying me, always getting annoyed when she doesn't get her way. She's intense to find a way to describe her energetically. She's highly sensitive and so bright and smart, but she drives us all crazy at home, my husband and older daughter as well. This situation is so close to my emotional well-being that every day I feel drained and exhausted to be parenting a child like this. I'd love to hear your insights about this situation. So, yeah, I hear you, Angela, and it sounds hard and painful, to feel triggered and to have that so close and to really want things to feel different and they just don't. So I really get that. I know you know this, so I'm just gonna say it and really encourage you to look in this direction again. And I say again because I know you've been following this, you've been through the school. I know this isn't brand new for you, and yet me too, everyone I know, like sometimes we just have to keep looking in the deeper direction sometimes it just comes from a desperation almost, just to have a different experience. Like the experience you're having is not working for you. It's not working for your family, right? So, but it keeps happening. It keeps repeating over and over again. And so sometimes it really is like that, feeling pushed to our limit, or just a desperation that can lead us to say, okay, clearly how I'm thinking about this, what I'm seeing when I look at my daughter and her intense behavior, this cannot be it. There has to be something else. And usually that something else is our freedom, and it's way outside the box. It's not a spin on like, oh, how can I see her differently? How can I parent her differently? How can I, change my thoughts about her? You've tried all those things, and that's not really what it is. I just want you to be open to the fact that maybe it's bigger and deeper and even more extreme than that. So look for yourself again, because again, I'm sure you've done this many times, but really if you really throw yourself into this and say, okay, I'm going to be so curious and so neutral and just look and see what I find. What are the painful thoughts here? Because you're believing a lot of thoughts that are not true, and it's hurting your relationship with your daughter. It's creating the experience. It's creating the suffering that you're talking about. Your daughter isn't. She really isn't. She's just her. She's showing up. She is life expressing as her in the only way it can. And in fact, in the most perfect way that it is meant to. And I know you see that. You list all kinds of positive things about her. She's perfect. She's exactly as she is. Period. There's no exception to that. But our suffering comes in when we're believing thoughts that are saying all kinds of things, but that she could be different. Like it would be very, very easy and very, very human and normal to look at your other daughter or to look at other people's children and say, gosh, if my youngest could just have a little bit of that, we'd all be so much happier. Well, that's fine, and that might look really true from within this little conceptual thought-created world that we live in, but it's nothing but a fantasy. It's made up. She can't. She can't. And I'm not saying your daughter can't and won't change. I'm not saying that at all. Change, she's just an expression of life. And life is expressing as her in the way it's expressing as long as it is. And life's always changing expressions, always. So this isn't about her changing or not changing. What it's about is now, which is the only time we have, in real time, thoughts arise over there in you that say she could be different. And you just check. Again, I'm not saying you necessarily have this thought. It's just an example. She could be different. things could be different. I could be different. I could relate to her differently. This could all not be happening. This could all be happening in a way other than how it's happening. Well, it can't. And that's a painful thought that every human on earth has all the time. In fact, every time we're suffering, virtually every time we're suffering, there is a thought being believed that says things could be different than they are right now. And how could they be? When you really get curious and examine that, how could life be different than it is right now? It only can in our imagination. It can only be different than as it is when we jump into our imagination and make up some alternate reality where your daughter is different or you're different or your husband's different. It's made up, but we don't realize that's made up. These thoughts come and we just live in a sea of thought, and the little sea of thought carries us away, and now we're believing it and we're thinking there's something wrong with her or your relationship or your parenting, and there's not. All there is a thought believed. So that's just one example, Angela, and you can look and see what else is being believed. All kinds of stuff. You know, if there's an oak tree outside your window and you really wish it was a palm tree, you probably don't say that oak tree triggers you. Like you might look at that and you might love palm trees and wish it was a palm tree, but there's just not, like, and you have to look at that oak tree every day, and maybe you hate that oak tree, but I bet it doesn't trigger you or wouldn't trigger you anywhere near what you're experiencing with your daughter. And the only reason for that, it's not because she's your daughter and it's a tree. No, the only reason for that is there's a whole different set of thinking that comes up relationally. Everybody looks like they have something to do with us. She's your daughter. When she's your daughter, that's painful. When she's not your daughter, she's just life expressing as life expresses, as this little character over there that's just full of spunk and intensity and all of the, and annoying at times and all of the qualities, right? When that's just life expressing in that way, and there's no Angela's daughter and Angela's responsibility and Angela's family and impact on these people and those people, and that's where it gets complicated and very, very painful. And it's not really complicated. That's just a lot of thought coming in, saying me and mine and my responsibility and should, I should, or she could, or we should have. All of that, it's not real. It's not real. It's thought. It's how a mind tells a story, but it has nothing to do with actual reality as it's showing up right now. Actual reality as it's showing up right now is your daughter exactly as she is. So look for those thoughts. Look for the me and mine and I should and I could have and my fault and what can I do, or this could be different, this should be different. That's 100% of the suffering, 100%. And if you can even just start to notice those thoughts as they arise, as thought, not just notice them and be like, oh yeah, there's a thought, I should. Well, I should. No, these aren't true. They're not true. It's a thought. It's not true. So see it as thought and start to really get onto that. Make a real mission of it, of noticing how often this little machine that just says nonsense half the time talks about how your life should be different. And then it really starts to look like life should be different. She should be different and he should be different and you should have been different. And that's all of the suffering. So see that. Keep looking. Every time you're annoyed or triggered, look for where there's a little hidden belief in there, a little hidden thought in there that's not being seen as a thought or a belief. And again, I feel for you as a human being. This is hard. We are conditioned. We're kind of biologically designed in a sense to look out and project so much, like what's happening out there. We think it's making us feel a certain way, and then we get so tangled up in just layers upon layers of thinking. But I just really want you to be open to the fact that this is just layers upon layers of thinking. Your daughter's absolutely perfect. You are absolutely perfect. Life is showing up exactly as it is. And when we don't have all that relational, what it means about you and what it means about me and what should be happening and what could be happening, if that were out of the picture, you would just love and adore her all just as much as you do your other daughter for exactly as she expresses herself. Just like we can for an oak tree or a palm tree or whatever tree you prefer. Doesn't mean you don't have preferences at times, but a lot of the ick and the suffering would not be present around this at all if all those beliefs were kind of seen as thoughts. So thank you for sending this question. I hope it's helpful. And again, this kind of so universal and so human, it's hopefully helpful for everyone. Send your questions to askamy@thelittleschoolofbigchange.com, and I'll be back here Monday to answer them. Have a great week, everyone.